Alright, everybody, what is going on? Welcome into another episode of the Full Press Saints podcast, of course, part of the Full Press Coverage Network. It's been a while. It's been a while, good friends and family. So, it is Alec and Dayton here today, and before we, dive into what's going to be Week 1 Packers versus Saints, just quickly, we just want to say, if you guys are listening, we hope everybody who was in the Gulf region who was affected by Hurricane Ida is safe and well. I saw their power is being restored back to the state of Louisiana, which is awesome news to hear. So I just hope everybody is well and safe. Hopefully you guys weren't affected too bad by the storm. So just thoughts out to you guys, because you guys make all this possible nonetheless. So just want to get that out there real quick. Dayton, how the heck are we feeling today? It's been a while,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
It's been a little bit. It's great to be back. Obviously, chatting it up on here, and we got a special guest today too, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get enough guests on the show, so I'm really excited, and it's a little crossover, which I'll get into in just a second. But no, I'm doing great. It's great to be back. Obviously, in a much better mood this week because football's back tomorrow. I mean, if you guys are listening to this is Wednesday, so I mean, there's either game on tonight while you're listening to this, Thursday night, Thursday night football, and then Sunday full slate of games. Monday night, we also get a game, so, I mean, football is back. It is incredible. College football is back, too. So how could you not be in a good mood?
And the stands will be full.
And the stands are going to be full. Fans finally back. I mean, we've already seen fans back in the college football stadiums. But, yeah, thoughts out to everybody affected down there in New Orleans and the greater Louisiana area and anybody affected by Hurricane Ida. Good news, though, is that the Saints plan to play their first home game October 3rd against the New York Giants. So,
Yep.
I mean, things are getting better, luckily. So, but yeah, thoughts to everybody there. So,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be back.
It's very funny because it's like '06 in the way those first three games, how it worked out. Where in '06 it was at Cleveland, at Green Bay, and then you're home for the Falcons. And then now you were going to be home. Technically. You were going to be home week 1. It's different. Correction. But you're going to be at Jacksonville, Green Bay, and then you're at Carolina, and then home for the Giants. So excited about that. But as Dayton teased earlier, we have a very special guest on with us today. He's the host over at the Full Press Packers Podcast, our first Full Press crossover of the season. We're super excited about it. Kyle of the Full Press Packers Podcast is on with us today to preview this Week 1 game between the Saints and Packers. Kyle, how the heck are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Alex, Dayton, thanks for having me. Appreciate being on here. I know Full Press Coverage family. We all love to support each other and collaborate in this case. So really excited for this.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this is something we got to do every week with the Full Press people. Something I definitely want to do with everybody because, like you said, this is a family. This is something we all like to do and discuss. So nonetheless, let's get you guys caught up on the latest Saints news and headlines heading into Week 1. Of course, yesterday the Saints did cut running back Latavius Murray, solidifying Tony Jones Jr. as the running back 2 in this offense. And while the terms have been released, the Saints did acquire a corner, trading for Bradley Roby from the Houston Texans. The details have not been announced yet, but he's suspended for this first week of the season, so he will be ready to go Week 2 at Carolina. So, Dayton, before we get in this game, Rich, any thoughts on these last 2 transactions and how it affects the team going forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, you get 2 additions in a much-needed positional group at cornerback, of course. We have 3 listed cornerbacks on the roster currently until these moves. Now, of course, you had P.J. Williams, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They're going to be playing plenty of cornerback, I'm sure, throughout the season. Chauncey Gardner is the starting slot guy. But you knew you needed bodies there, and now as reports are coming out, Jeff Duncan most notably noting that the Saints have been trying to make moves to improve this cornerback room since May. They knew that they had to address it this offseason, weren't fully able to do it in the draft. Of course, they got Paulson and Debo. But now they're able to sign Desmond Trufant on a very team-friendly deal. This is a guy who has been cut twice, once by the rival Falcons and another time after signing a contract with them. But I still think he's got some in the tank, and he's got the right body for what the Saints want for this press man-to-man coverage that they run. Now, the even better move, I think, was trading for, and again, the details haven't come out yet. I'm guessing it's going to be a 6th-round pick, could be a 5th, because he is a starter there for the Texans. It just depends on what they're doing, if they're doing any sort of fire sale with him. But Bradley Roby, guess what his raw athletic score was coming out of college? Over 9. I mean, that's who the Saints go after. If your raw athletic score is over 9, the Saints want you on their team. We saw every single that guy they drafted this year had a RAS over 9. Coming out of college, out of The Ohio State University, another institution that the Saints love to grab their guys from.
That's another factor that they want.
Yes, they love the Ohio State guys. Bradley Roby come out, had a RAS score of 9.2. Fantastic. Obviously, this was 7 years ago, back in 2014, but still, I mean, they love their athletes. He was going to be starter there after suspension was up for the Texans, and now he's going to be most likely starting opposite Marshawn Lattimore when he is fully able to come back in week 2. Now, it makes more sense, the Saints cutting Latavius Murray after these acquisitions, of course, getting Trufant than trading for Roby, because Roby has a pretty significant cap hit. It's going to be, I believe, $9 million next year and $10 million the year following. Luckily, none of it is guaranteed, and all of his signing bonus has been paid for by the Texans, so they don't actually really owe him any. If I don't think they owe him anything in 2021 as of now, other than his game checks.
Right.
So, I mean, I like the moves, but getting rid of Murray at first was shocking. I understand why they did it now. You know, a $5 million running back 3 is very expensive, especially in this league. And it would have been fine had he not lost his job to Tony Jones Jr. in the preseason. That's the difference between the Saints cutting him in March and cutting Latavius Murray now.
And they tried to trade him, if I'm right, to get under the cap, right?
Yes,
he was a trade block guy, but
because he was one of the guys who was rumored to be cut originally with the big wave when the Saints needed to get under the cap. But of course, they kept him. They tried to rework a deal with him after he got beat out for the running back 2 position from Tony Jones Jr., and obviously he didn't want to do that, so the Saints had to part ways and need to make some room. So all in all, I enjoy the moves. They address some necessary positional needs while also getting rid of one of my favorite guys on the team, Latavius Murray. I just like his downhill running. He was coming off the best year of his career. But, I mean, I trust the Saints' judgment, especially when it comes to running backs. You get Alvin Kamara, the bulk of the looks. Tony Jones Jr. is going to be that, ground and pound guy for the team. And then Dwayne Washington getting a nice little fit in there. He's been a special teams guy, but now he's officially running back 3 and well deserved. So
yeah, and I mean you can have Tommy Gurn take handoffs every once in a while if need be.
Right.
Taysom Hill
is going to get a lot of looks. I mean, he was working with the tight ends today apparently, so he's going to get a lot of looks. So
everywhere on the board, love to see it. Kyle, we have some Packer news that came out a little bit not too long ago today. You had the chance to break it on the Full Press Packers, so I figured, hey, this is your perfect opportunity. Reports circulating that Davante Adams will not sign an extension with the Packers before Week 1 kicks off. Any concern here, do you think, or is this just a typical Packer thing they're doing heading into the season?
Yeah, I think a few tendencies. Maybe Davante Adams is a little annoyed with the Packers' tendencies. I know last year it was not playing him when he felt he was healthy, but extra cautious. And one of the things we saw was David Bakhtiari. They went deep into the season before they reached an extension with him, and it seems like Adams has kind of decided he doesn't want it be distraction in season. It's either you get it done before the season or worry about it after the season. So I'm not totally surprised. The Packers, when they feel Aaron Jones last year, right? They basically waited until the 11th hour to get an extension with him and re-sign him to prevent him from becoming a free agent. So if they want Adams and they're willing to pay him, they'll offer that money after the seasons. But it really, I wonder if Adams is really just waiting out and seeing, like, they may have offered him the money he wants, but he might not want to stay, not knowing what happens with Aaron Rodgers. He may not be so interested in the rebuild with Jordan Love. So if Aaron Rodgers leaves and Davante Adams is still not under contract at that point, I think he might just refuse to sign with the Packers, walk as a free agent, and then just immediately sign with wherever Rodgers lands. So I don't see this being resolved before whatever happens with Aaron Rodgers is resolved.
I dig it. Kyle, let me ask you this real quick. In my fantasy draft, I drafted Rodgers as my QB1 because I think this is his last dance / his F-it season, is where he says F everything, I'm going to go out there and ball out. Is that the right decision, do you think?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I drafted Rodgers in my draft as my QB1, all because this is his last dance / this is his F-it season, where he's just going to say,
yeah,
screw it, I'm going to go out there and just do me. And, was that the right choice in your opinion?
I mean, it all depends on cost, right? And it depends on what other quarterbacks are going around there. I did a draft, I guess, actually just yesterday, so less than 24 hours ago, and I drafted Rodgers 7th, 8th round, maybe, somewhere around there.
I got him in the 7th, and it was between Rodgers and Dak. Those are my two options. Did I make the right choice?
I think either's fine. Honestly, I think I'd prefer Dak. Personally, I've got Dak ranked as my QB5 in fantasy this year. But I think the top 7 to me were really obvious, and that was all dependent if you believed in Justin Herbert. If not, then it's a top 6. But I am more on the side of Herbert. I've actually taken Herbert over Rodgers in a couple drafts this year, but I've also done it the opposite way. I feel like that's kind of those 3 are kind of the back end of that top tier, and the way I'm judging, as long as I can get one of them, I'm pretty happy with that. Just wait to get whoever's the cheapest. If I have to make a choice out of those 3, I'm usually choosing Dak. But I don't think there's really a wrong answer with any of those 3, or again expanding to the other 4 to make up the top 7.
I
dig it.
Herbert.
I'm also a Herbert guy.
Quack quack.
This is a pro Herbert fantasy football team episode.
Also, to piggyback off what Kyle was saying with the, Green Bay kind of waiting for the last minute to get these deals done. Saw it happen with Aaron Jones. Kind of saw the same thing happen with the Saints in terms of this is kind of opposite. We got our star wide receiver first, then the next year star running back. It was kind of last minute for Michael Thomas, and it was kind of last minute for Alvin Kamara signing their extensions. So now the Packers, they get Aaron Jones last year, Devontae Adams. I think it's gonna, I mean, if the Aaron Rodgers future wasn't so up in the air, I definitely think Adams would stay. But I think you hit it, perfectly, Kyle. I think Adams is really waiting to see what is going to happen after this season. Does he want to stay? Does he want to go? What's really going to benefit him? And of course, his agent is probably telling him the same thing in his ear. So,
yep, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this offseason for the Packers with Rodgers and Adams. But gentlemen, football's upon us. Week 1, Packers Saints. Not in New Orleans, in Jacksonville, Florida, with the pool and everything. So
with the pool and everything.
Yeah, the pool. You can watch the game from the pool in Jacksonville. I love it.
That needs to be like the tagline for this game when they preview it on Fox, and it's like the pool game. Even with the pool in Jacksonville.
Yeah. So I'm hyped about it. It's a very cool, it's a very nice stadium down there in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Also, it's been noted Rodgers does not perform well in the state of Florida, which hey. It's Florida. I don't think any of us would perform well in the state of Florida.
Nobody performs well in the state of Florida.
It's a wacky ball state. So let's dive into this, guys. I mean, what are some of y'all's thoughts? Matchups in particular, offense, defense. What are some of the things you guys are looking forward to as we, real nitpick / tear apart each other's rosters here?
I'm going to let Kyle have the floor first since he is our guest, but I do just want to present just a question, and then you can honestly talk about whatever you want for the Packers and their roster. But looking at this offensive line, I enjoy the guys on this list. I noticed Elgton Jenkins is the starting left tackle.
He's a stud.
He's an absolute stud. But correct me if I'm wrong, he's been playing inside for a majority of his career. I know he's only been in the league for a couple of seasons now, but he was mainly playing inside, right? Is he just now recently moving to outside, or did I miss something from last year?
So Jenkins, when they drafted him, they actually had him listed at center when they drafted him. I think they were maybe thinking the long-term replacement to Corey Linsley, but as they discovered, incredibly versatile offensive lineman. Last year, I'm pretty sure he played all 5 spots on the offensive line.
Wow.
Now, his primary spot was left guard, but there were, David Bakhtiari tore his ACL in December, but he also missed a couple games earlier in the season. And, I'm pretty sure week 1, Bakhtiari was out. Or no, it was Billy Turner that was injured, and he was the right tackle. So Jenkins actually started week 1 at right tackle last year.
Wow.
Now he had, and I think in the games where Bakhtiari was out, they moved him at left tackle, or they used Billy Turner at left tackle in some games last year. But I think there was a couple snaps in certain games where Jenkins played left tackle, but mostly the right tackle. That's kind of where he'd play the outside. But again, his primary position being left guard. But again, moving around all over the place. What it looks like this year, David Bakhtiari placed on the PUP list. I know everyone was kind of putting that as bad news. I'm not surprised. I mean, at this point, we're 9 months removed from him tearing his ACL. He's a big man. 330 pounds, and so like that body is gonna weigh on that ACL a little more. So I always thought it would be, generally what we see with a lot of running backs, receivers, 12-month time frame before they're really back to full health. You can get maybe within the 9 to 12 months, but I always kind of felt it would be closer to the 12-month range. So I'm not surprised he's on the PUP list. I figure that'll give him 6-7 weeks to get healthy. Once they activate him, I think it's 3 more weeks after they activate him off the PUP list that he has to be game day active. That doesn't mean they have to play him, but so I could see half the season without Bakhtiari. And from what it sounds like, they're going to put their best offensive lineman at the left tackle spot. When Bakhtiari's back, it'll be him. But for right now, it sounds like it's going to be Elton Jenkins. So they've prepared for life without Bakhtiari for at least half the season, I think. And in that instance, it's going to be Jenkins at left tackle, it looks like. They've kind of kept it hush-hush a little bit on the exact week 1 starting lineup in terms of who are the 5 starting offensive linemen and where they're playing. But from all indications, it sounds like it's going to be Jenkins at left tackle. The only thing we know for sure is Josh Myers, the rookie, is the starting center.
Yes.
But they've also implied Royce Newman. Matt LaFleur was kind of saying that Royce Newman will be starting as well. And I know my co-host on the Full Press Packers pod, Jesse, he expects it'll be right guard for Royce Newman, and the left guard spot with Jenkins having to move outside will be Lucas Patrick, who did start, I think it was 14 games for the Packers last year. Mostly at right guard, though. So it'll be at left guard, but he's got starting guard experience. But still, 2 rookies on the interior is maybe where the question marks lie right now.
Yeah, that's what the depth chart's looking like right now too. Yeah, with Newman at right guard, Patrick at left guard, and then Josh Myers at center. And yeah, I like the thinking of having your best athlete there at left tackle, of course, protecting Aaron Rodgers' blind side, and just being the most important anchor position there on the offensive line. In terms of Bakhtiari, I mean, if he only misses half the season, I think that's something in your guys' book. You mentioned that he's a big guy coming off a really nasty injury that a lot of times can sideline guys for a full year. If it's a full tear and really, but especially a guy of Bakhtiari's size. So if he is able to come back, only missing half the year, I think that's kind of a mini W in your guys' book. And it's going to be really important this game to see, going to the Saints side of the ball, how the defensive front is going to do. We know how good they are on the outside. We know we got Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, we got Peyton Turner. Looks like he's healthy. He's back and practicing. We have a lot of guys there on the edge. But losing Sheldon Rankins in free agency this season, and then losing David Onyemata, who was the clear-cut number 1 defensive tackle on this team for the first 6 games of the year due to suspension, that is putting a big hinder in the plans of this defense because of how much we've relied on those defensive tackles to really stuff the holes up front, giving us a top 5, sometimes 2, or even best in the league rushing defense in the entire league. So losing Rankins, losing Onyemata for the first 6 games, that I think is going to be the number 1 thing I'm going to be watching, because we're going up against Aaron Jones. We were able to contain Aaron Jones somewhat last season when these teams played. He had 16 carries for 69 yards. He did have a touchdown. But now you have guys who don't have too much experience there starting up front. Oh, also we had to cut Malcolm Brown in the season, who was a veteran guy who
Run stuffer,
and he was just a casualty we couldn't keep around, and now I really wish we could. But luckily, a lot of linebacker depth for the first time in what seems like team history, or at least since the Dome Patrol. By the way, Quan Alexander changed the number to number 5,
and he's playing.
That's pretty tight. And yeah, he says he's playing. We'll see. We got to see who the 46 active guys are come game day. If Quan is one of them, he's for sure playing. But I'm guessing 1 or 2 of the linebackers are going to be game day inactives there. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But linebacker support, secondary outside of corner, of course, we'll talk about corner for previewing this game. But I am going to be looking at in the trenches. Because this is even with injuries, this is a very decent, especially with, Jenkins and Turner playing there on the outside. This is a very legitimate offensive line that the Saints are going up against, with a very legitimate quarterback and a very legitimate running back there. Just all-around good offense starters there. How are the Saints going to be able to handle the rush defense duties that are left on the table from stars that we don't have anymore playing in this game? That's what I'm going to be looking for the most. That matchup in the trenches. Now, are they going to be able to, again, Josh Myers, very young, one of his first starts there at centers. How are they going to be able to exploit that if they are at all? And if they're able to get this run game kind of contained, then that gives us a much better shot at winning. But again, we saw kind of contained the run game last season. The Saints still lost by 7 points. So it's tough. But I know cornerback, Alec, I'll let you hit on cornerback too. Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, number 1 and number 2 receivers there for the Packers. The Saints should be more concerned if history repeats itself. They should be more concerned with Alan Lazard than Devontae Adams. Alan Lazard last year, 6 receptions, 146 yards, and a tutty. So, I mean, if you contain Adams, that's great, but Alan Lazard is going to run all over you. And he is a deep threat, stretch the field type guy who can make a lot of things go for them. Are you concerned with, granted, we talked about how much they improved the cornerback room just recently, but there's not going to be a Roby in this game. It's going to be Trufant, Adebo, or Crawley starting outside opposite Marshawn Lattimore. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about the secondary?
Look, this is Aaron Rodgers. This is a guy, when you give him time, he makes almost every damn throw he possibly can make. Him and Devontae Adams last year, you saw the connection they had. It was phenomenal. Adams had 16 touchdowns last year, and he missed like 4 games last year. If I'm correct, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. And as you said, Dane, the pressure from the defensive line going up against this Packers offensive line is going to be key, because if you give Rodgers time to sit around and wait for his guys to get open, this secondary minus Roby, in particular the corner, I don't think is good enough to keep up with those guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints defense approaches the game from the secondary position. Do your safeties play down? Do they play high and low? Do they play over the top of Devontae Adams, give those corners some extra help? But no, this is going to be interesting because, you mentioned Alan Lazard. They have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who is kind of like their deep threat home run ball type guy. They bring back Randall Cobb, who, he's
got some stuff left in the
He
tank.
still does. Yeah, Cobb is not washed by any means. Right. I think last year in Houston was kind of an outlier because that team was so bad. Go back to that year when he was in Dallas, he was still a very productive receiver for the Cowboys. And they have, Cobb 2.0 and Amari Rodgers out of Clemson. So that's going to be interesting to see how he gets utilized. With the lack of depth for the Saints have at the outside corner position, it's going to be interesting. I expect to see a lot of P.J. Williams week 1 at corner as well, just because, no Bradley Roby. Trufant may not be totally caught up with the playbook yet. So it's gonna be fun, to say the least. But as you said, this all goes back to the defensive line. If they can get pressure on Rodgers and make him force some throws earlier than he would like to, I think we have a shot. But if not, it's gonna be a very long day.
Yeah.
One of the things that I
Go for it, Kyle. No, please. I was actually just about to pass it to you anyway, so please go for it.
Oh, okay. It's about Lazard, and
yeah.
I think he is really key to this matchup. The thing with the game last year is Devontae Adams didn't play that Saints game. It was kind of a concern. Okay, is this offense going to be able to keep up with Alvin Kamara?
No, we thought the same. Right. We thought the same thing, Kyle. Trust me. We thought the same damn thing you did.
I forgot about that. That's right. He didn't play.
Yep.
And so Lazard ended up being covered by Lattimore on a lot of those plays, especially in the second half. Especially, I think his first touchdown was, I'm trying to think, who was that? Maybe it was Gardner Johnson, but I think once he scored, then they flipped it. Okay, let's get Lattimore on him, and I think Lattimore stayed on him the rest of the game, and he was still producing. So I think that's something that the Saints showed they didn't really have an answer for last time. And if Adams is there, I would expect to see Lattimore just shadowing Adams as much as he can. Now, Matt LaFleur does like to move Adams around. And so if Adams does travel to the slot, is Lattimore going to follow him there? Or are they going to keep Lattimore to the perimeter and let their interior guys and some of those more veteran safety players take care of him? How would the Saints approach that?
I would say, and Dan, you can jump in after me. I would say Laddie follows. That's just kind of what he does when it's a star elite,
Typically.
when it's a Mike Evans, a Julio Jones, and Amari Cooper, like that is your focal point at the receiver position wise. I would say Lattimore follows Devontae the entire game.
Sure, but we've also seen in the past, though, Janoris Jenkins has covered some of the star receivers when, things are permitted. And also, Sean Payton really is a believer in matchups, obviously. All coaches are, but Sean Payton is but he's going to be game planning for these, like, what's going to go inside. I wouldn't be shocked if Lattimore does follow, but what I think actually will happen is they are going to throw just about anybody at Adams I think they're going to start with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, to be honest with you. If he can get the job done, then that's great. I also feel like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to want to cover Robert Tonyan a lot of the game. Peyton likes to put CJ on tight end. So, if he's covering Robert Tonyan, I definitely think Lattimore slides in. Jenkins also, it just depends on how physical they want to get with Devontae Adams. If you put Jenkins in there, obviously he's going to be a little bit of a step slower, but if he's going to be physical with him, especially in short yardage situations or on the goal line, I wouldn't be shocked by that. But yeah, I do believe Lazard's catch was over CJ Gardner-Johnson in the first game. I totally forgot that Devontae Adams didn't even play in that game. But that makes a lot of sense as to why Lazard balled out. But yeah, I could see anything happening with that. Lattimore sliding inside with him. I don't know. I just love Lattimore on the outside. I don't enjoy him as much in the slot. Even though he's got great hips, it just seems like he's not as good as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson there in the slot. That's the reason why Johnson has been moved from safety to essentially starting slot cornerback. So, but I definitely think what the Saints are going to throw a lot is some sort of double team look with Marcus Williams hanging over the top of whatever side that Devontae Adams is on, or Lazard, depending on who they think is going to be beating them deep more often. I think they could definitely throw something out there. Depends on how much they trust Lattimore. Either way, though, it's a headache game planning for these Green Bay Packers. I don't care who you are. It's a headache to try to cover all these guys and also worry about the run game there with Aaron Jones, who is one of the best running backs in the entire NFL.
And the quarterback.
Oh, yeah, of course, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you don't have to say much about Aaron Rodgers. People know Aaron Rodgers, man. He is just an absolute baller, and every year he proves it. Every year, it's crazy. I mean, it was kind of the same thing with Drew Brees up until his last few, with the injuries and a lot more turnovers than previously. Aaron Rodgers, every single year, he proves that he is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, like effortlessly, it seems almost. He'll have some of the most efficient years, and then you'll think, oh, he's not going to do that again. Well, he does it again, and then he does it even better. I could definitely see him winning the MVP again this year if everything is clicking for this. And Matt LaFleur has a lot to do with this, of course, his play calling. But Aaron Rodgers has been doing this with no matter who the coach is. Took him a little bit to get his footing in with the new offense Matt LaFleur has been implementing. But ever since they got their feet going, this is their third season now, it seems like they've just exponentially gotten better. So, I don't know. It's just a headache thinking about this.
It's fun. And I mean, I know for the Packers defensively, I'll be also thinking that, right? Kamara specifically. And I think, they had they couldn't find any way to stop him last year. So just with, the lack of Michael Thomas, I mean, first off, I think the thing I'm looking forward most to as a Packers fan is seeing what this new Joe Barry defense is going to look like, because they fired defensive coordinator Mike Pettin in the offseason, and so replaced him with Joe Barry from the Rams to see what's going to change. And it seems like the biggest change is coming from the linebacker position. Kamal Martin, who was in 2020 was a fifth round rookie pick, actually started games for them last year. Christian Kirksey got hurt, and then they had two rookies at inside linebacker, starting with the undrafted free agent Chris Barnes and then Kamal Martin. And so that looked like, okay, this is going to be like they both played really well, especially Barnes. And I mean, Barnes is still starting this year alongside free agent signee Devondre Campbell. But what happened is last year, Martin, under Mike Pettin's defense, leapfrogged guys like Ty Summers and Oren Burks, who had been there for a few years already. But then suddenly it seems like he leapfrogged backwards under the Joe Barry system, and he actually was playing behind them to the point where Kamal Martin actually got released. That was probably the most shocking cut for the Packers this year at training camp. And so it seems like Joe Barry has a very different expectation for what he wants his linebackers to be, very quick, athletic. It seemed like Martin, a bigger body, big bruiser, kind of can lay down the hard hits and stuff like that. But the slight limitations in coverage and just not as much of a sideline to sideline speed tackler, and I think that's what Joe Barry really wants. So we'll see if that makes a difference, having Campbell in there, a veteran presence, and then what Barnes did, because Barnes really wasn't playing much at the time of the Saints game. Still Christian Kirksey primarily. So I do wonder, now that Barnes has had a whole year of NFL experience under his belt, and coming in as the starter, and it seems like he's done well this preseason, this training camp, how is he going to react to that? So kind of, two linebackers, the Packers really didn't have at their disposal last year in Campbell and Barnes. Does that make a difference with Kamara? But the other thing I'm thinking, with the lack of receivers, Jair Alexander, amazing corner.
Hey, we have Chris Hogan.
Again, sorry about that trade there, but the conventional thing would be, okay, who's the Saints' best receiver? It's probably Callaway right now. Just have Alexander shut Callaway off the entire game and force everyone else, figure it out otherwise. But I almost wonder, do the Packers get cute and try and move Alexander inside so that he's closer to Kamara? Like, anytime Kamara goes in the slot, they have Alexander on him, knowing that we want our best defensive weapon in Alexander against Kamara. And is that what the Packers coaching staff is thinking? So I wonder if that's going to happen. I don't know if that, especially first game, maybe they try not to get that cute, and they want to really just establish what their defensive system is going to be this year and play it more conventional. But I do wonder if they sneak Alexander inside whenever Kamara is used as a slot receiver, which I don't know how much they're going to do. But considering, again, the lack of Michael Thomas, I would think that's a smart idea. But again, that's just me.
I have a great game plan here, Dave. What we're going to do is, with about 13 seconds left till halftime, we're going to get the ball to midfield. And we're just going to throw the ball to whoever Kevin King is guarding.
Can we trade for Scotty Miller real quick?
With Chris Hogan. That'll work.
That's right.
He fits the mold of guys Tom Brady throws to. Kyle, let's about that real quick with the secondary. I mean, we know Jair Alexander obviously is one of the best young corners in this game right now. But you look at Kevin King, a guy who infamously was torched, and I imagine a lot of Packer fans weren't too thrilled to have him come back with a one-year deal. But also, they drafted Eric Stokes out of Georgia in the draft. How do you see the secondary kind of shaping out for the Packers this coming year?
Yeah, so I think Kevin King has been really good at times and in specific formations. I find his strength is when he's playing kind of off coverage zone, and the ball's in front of him. He's a good tackler and pretty decent. He's a good ball hawk as well. He's good skills. Where he is weak is when he's having to cover in tight coverage, and then once the defensive back gets behind him, he has a really hard time catching up. Long strider, so he can get turned around easily. So when I almost feel like he's been miscast as a cornerback. I almost feel like he could be better as a safety. He'd need to maybe get better hip fluidity to cover inside, a bit better shiftiness, but his skill set and the type of formations they like to use him in, seems like he'd be better suited as a safety. So I do wonder, is Joe Barry going to put him in position to succeed and not have him play tight coverage at all and have him play more off coverage as a primary focus? So I wonder if that'll help. But again, we'll see. It sounds like Eric Stokes, as good as he's played, hasn't surpassed King yet, which is a little concerning.
I like him a lot.
I know how bad Kevin King has been at times, but also still a rookie. And I know the Packers are, again, really notoriously slow with their rookies. They want to make sure they develop them, and the ones that do play right away are usually high impact players right from the get-go. They're so good that they can't not get them on the field, but anyone else, they're going to be really patient with them. So I expect to see Stokes, but not as a full-time regular player right away yet.
Yeah.
Because I think the Packers only have 4 safeties on roster, but all 4 are going to be expected to see playing time. Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage a given. But Henry Black and another 2020 pick. We've already talked about Kamal Martin, 2020 pick who's now in his second year, Vernon Scott as well. And so we could maybe see some 3 safety looks, which I think might also see with the Saints. Again, just having so many veteran safeties. So it's funny that we could see both teams employ similar defensive back type formations in this game.
Yeah, and you guys have one of the better safety tandems in the league too, Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage. Saints I think have one of the better ones too. And speaking of this last game, to just kind of elevate it, the Saints' leading receiver was Alvin Kamara, of course. 13 catches, 139 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, including that 52-yard, just crazy reception. Emmanuel Sanders, 4 catches, 56 yards. Traquan Smith, 4 catches, 42 yards. No other receiver had a catch besides Deontay Harris, 2 catches, 5 yards. And no other receiver after them had more than 21 yards. Jared Cook was next with 21 yards. So, you get the top 2 at the time for the Saints, top 2 receivers, really. 4 catches, 56 yards, 4 catches, 42 yards. Average. Everybody else was essentially completely shut down to the fact where you had to make Alvin Kamara the guy, to the point where Alvin Kamara only ran the ball 6 times that entire game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a really solid game plan on the Packers' part, whatever they were able to do, and I think it goes back to how well Jair Alexander did play in that game. I'm making sure he actually played in that game too, because apparently I've been missing people, but no, obviously Jair Alexander played in that game. But I think that the linebackers are really going to have to help out with the Saints team, because with Jameis Winston now coming into the mold, he's going to have a much stronger arm to throw the ball down the field and stretch it. So, if linebackers are able to play well and be disciplined and still take Kamara away, they're going to force Jameis Winston to throw those balls down the field. And we know how turnover heavy he can be in the passing game. We've seen how well he's done this preseason, but we can't forget about how many turnovers he's had the last time he was a full-time starting quarterback. So it's I do like this Packers secondary. I think it's also going to be a good matchup against this essentially depleted Saints wide receiver core, with Marquez Callaway being the number 1 guy. Traquan Smith, as inconsistent as he has been, is somewhat of a promising number 2, but he's going to have to prove it here. And Deontay Harris, one of the fastest guys in the game, but he is so undersized. How are you going to utilize him here? So I think it's going to fall onto Alvin Kamara's shoulders yet again, unless Jameis Winston is able to just hit some home runs down the field. But again, going up against one of the better safety tandems in the league, and one of the better, if not the best cornerback in the league in terms of shutdown, with Jair Alexander. So a lot of fun matchups to look up for in this game. I think that this should have been one of the primetime games for I get it. It's a Fox America's Game of the Week type thing, but this should be a primetime Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football type game. So
yeah, we get Joe and Troy. I'll take what I can get.
We always get them,
and it never turns out well.
I mean, the older I get, the more I like Joe Buck, which I named one of my fantasy football teams Joe Buck Yourself. I stole that off the internet, but still, I think it's pretty funny. But I do like Joe Buck. The older, the more I get. The older I get, the more I like Joe Buck. But don't know what that was. Should still be a primetime game. This is going to be a great matchup. So
that was funny. I like how you just admitted that you got it off the internet. Like you didn't try.
I did.
You didn't even try and say, "Yeah, I made that up." You just said,
"I don't have a creative bone in my body." I'll be completely honest. I can never come up with these names for fantasy football teams.
I think I have one of the better. I made this one up on my Jovid-19.
I'll laugh because you laughed at mine.
I thought that was
Jovid?
clever. No, like COVID, Joe Burrow,
Oh, Joe. Oh, like Joe Burrow. Gotcha,
Yeah.
See, I thought you were talking about Joe Buck again. That's why I kind of. Joe Burrow makes way more sense.
If you know a Joe, then it works. Also, Burrow was the number 1 pick in 19, so it made even more sense then. My other one is the Catalina. You guys Step Brothers?
Yes, of course. I know where you're going with this.
This Catalina wine Mixon. And no, I did not draft Joe Mixon because I do not trust him whatsoever.
Getting off topic here, I have been to Catalina Island before, and it is a beautiful place.
Have you really?
Yeah. Catalina Island. It's right off the coast of pretty much right in between California and Mexico.
Really?
It's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, super cool. Got a shirt from there. The Chicago Cubs used to do spring training there on Catalina Island back in the 50s, I think.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep. Off target. Anyway, guess who also had 58 rushing yards last year for the Saints against the Packers?
Latavius Murray?
Yes.
Wow.
I rest my case.
Wow. As I recall, Taysom Hill fumbled the game away too. So
of course, when isn't he fumbling? And of course,
that
against
is true.
Former team. Of course, against his former team.
He knew what he was doing. He gave Aaron that W. So before we sign off today, guys, let's get some X factors and a score or just a prediction. If you don't give a score, that's cool. But Kyle, we'll start with you. Give me a X factor for the Packers who thinks it's going to surprise everybody week 1, and a score or just a prediction if you want to.
I guess I could see a bold prediction being, I guess, in vain to the Kamara Murray thing. A.J. Dillon might get more rushing yards than Aaron Jones. It might be the same reason that they use Aaron Jones so much as a receiver, that he's not running the football as much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I could see something like that happening.
I dig it.
And
like
for a
that.
score prediction, I'm going to take the Packers to win.
Okay.
I think
Homer.
the quarterback battle alone should definitely lean that way. But the Packers being a healthier set of weapons to help that quarterback out, I think will just make it so that I don't know. I have a hard time seeing how the Saints are going to stop the Packers from getting to 40 points. Doesn't seem that lofty to me. So I'll say 42. I'll give just because of Kamara, I'll say 42-28, and I think the Saints can put points because of Kamara. But yeah, sorry if that's a little disrespectful to the Saints. That is such a large score discrepancy. I had a hard time saying that word, but Jameis Winston has a hard time playing football sometimes, so I think that's the reason.
Homer. I'm kidding.
I understand.
I'm
your
kidding.
thinking.
He's probably accurate in most of the things he just said.
No, I understand.
And
the
to be
thinking for
fair,
sure.
Winston's pretty accurate too. I think it's all just decision making and mental processing, right? And I just, we were, as a Packers fan, we were waiting for Favre to get smarter all those years, all the talent in the world. But I think at the end, he still couldn't really read a cover 3 defense. So
Bruce
I
Arians
don't know.
offense.
I'm skeptical that Winston's ever going to improve. Really.
Okay, so this game takes place in Florida. Jameis Winston won a natty in Florida. Aaron Rodgers.
Wait. Was the game played in Florida though?
It was not.
Well,
but
then there you go.
But
I know he was undefeated that year.
Yeah, he was undefeated in Florida in college. Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Winston was undefeated his last year at Florida State, correct?
We talking about college?
Yes.
But yes, okay, I'll entertain. Yes.
Aaron
absolutely,
Rodgers'
yes.
career record is 2-3 in the state of Florida. I like those odds. In the state of Florida, I still take the Packers. They will win this game. I take the Packers 30-24. An X factor for me in this game. That's so hard. If he does play, give me Quan Alexander as an X factor in this game. That's my guy. I think last year we saw him and DeMar Davis really gel together in this defense. Unfortunately, when he got hurt, it was pretty noticeable when Alexander's willing to step in. So I think Quan is ready to go and truly healthy as he says he is. That's just pure speed at the linebacker position and in your base and nickel defenses. He can do everything. He blitzes, he covers. Maybe turnover or two going his way. I like Quan Alexander as my guy. But I'll still take the Packers 30-24.
I'm not going to give a score prediction because
That's fair.
it's too hard to do.
That's fair.
I will say, Kyle, you mentioned A.J. Dillon. I actually do hope he goes off, not just this game, but for a lot of the season. I have him on one of my Dynasty fantasy teams.
The quads alone would be the reason why I drafted that man.
Yes. He was one of the... I drafted him before the quads. He was one of my young stash guys, so I really do hope that he performs well. I got an X factor on both offense and defense for the Saints.
Okay.
Malcolm Jenkins on defense. I think his coverage ability, his run support is going to be really important for this game. Also just voted captain, which, by the way, Saints captains, pretty predictable. Outside of Alvin Kamara didn't get it. It was Malcolm Jenkins, Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan, Jameis Winston, J.T. Gray, and... I believe that was all.
Armstead.
And Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead was the 6th. So shout out to those guys. But I think Malcolm Jenkins would be important. And I think the other guy, the other captain, Teron Armstead, I think the Saints offensive line is going to be really important. How are they going to handle this? Because I think the Packers, with Campbell, Smith, Preston Smith, I mean, that is a really, really good linebacking core just by itself. And then you add in Barnes, who has been impressing so far. Kenny Clark is one of the more underrated nose tackles in the league. I mean, that is a really, really solid front seven. I'm looking for mainly, Teron Armstead being the anchor there. How much time in the pocket is Jameis Winston going to get? We saw against Jacksonville, he's able to make really nice throws under pressure. This is a different team, and it's the regular season. How is Winston going to perform under pressure, and is the Saints' offensive line going to be able to keep him from getting pressured early and often in the game? I think that's going to be really important. So those are my two X factors. I'm not going to pick a score, but this makes it unanimous. I also have the Packers winning this game. I don't see the Saints. I don't see the Saints pulling this out. Well, I guess I should say this. I just don't see the Packers losing this game. How about that? I don't see the Packers losing this game. last year, I think that the Saints had all the cards on the table to win that game, and they should have. The Packers were the better team, and they executed better. I think that's going to probably be the same thing this year, except the fact that, I think the Packers have the better overall roster top to bottom right now. The Packers, this is a team we're talking about who could very well be in the Super Bowl, 6 months from now.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is a really solid
I'm hoping
team.
so.
Yeah, of course, Kyle. I mean, of course, Kyle. That would be incredible.
He's tired of NFC conference game sweeps.
And trust me, man, I can't. That's the thing. I can't make a jab at all about playoff failures for any other team because my favorite team is the epitome of playoff blunders and failures over the last 4 seasons. So
we are the 2000s version of the Buffalo Bills in the 90s.
Right.
It's that simple.
But anyway, Packers. We all say Packers win, and I think that's probably going to end up being the case. I'm hoping for a good game though overall. I mean, competitive, obviously. Hoping for a good game. So
yeah, I think it will be a very good game. Certainly a season-defining game for both these teams as the year kicks off Thursday night. I'm not going to say tomorrow tonight because this will be out tomorrow morning. Thursday night, NFL kicks off. Super excited about it. Dayton, Kyle, do we have any last words here, gentlemen, before we sign off for today?
Thank you for coming on, Kyle. It was amazing. Definitely we'll have you back. I mean, I guess we'll try to fit you back on. Obviously, these teams only play once this year. But it's the playoff matchup.
Playoffs, you never know.
Yeah, you're right. And follow him on Twitter at Senra Says, Senra Says.
Yeah, it's a great follow.
Yeah, that's Senra Says. Also the Full Press Fantasy Pod at FPC_Fantasy Pod, and everything Full Press Coverage Packers at FPC_Packers. And appreciate Alec, Dayton, both of you for allowing me to come on and talk. This was fun, and hope we informed your listeners.
Yeah, I think we guys did. Hopefully, maybe our paths will cross later in December/January. We will see, Kyle. But once again, man, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on with us as we preview this Week 1 game between the Packers and the Saints. Hopefully, you enjoyed your time. We try to make our guests have a good time here. That's what we do.
It still goes Saints, even though we picked the Packers, by the way.
Yes. Success. I did enjoy my time here, but yeah.
Good.
Sorry.
Us too.
That's always a great thing to hear, guys. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at SaintsFPC. Drop those reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. This is Alec, Dayton, and Kyle signing off on this special crossover episode. Game's 3 o'clock Sunday. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman will be on the call. Make sure you're watching, guys. It's going to be a fun game. Who dat? And, I'm out of words, so we're just going to end it on that.
Go, Pack, go.